When did you realize music was your gift?
It's funny because I've always been interested in music. I always loved music. According to my parents, like even when I was like a baby, I was into music. I remember like being infatuated with the whole Michael Jackson thing. I do remember that. But as far as a gift, I didn't realize that until probably recently, maybe even 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, when, cause I try to practice humility, so I've always been like really humble, but I started to really realize as I wrote for more artists and worked with more artists, I was like, wow, okay, what I'm able to do is not normal. You know, like that is hard for some people to do. Like what I think, oh man, you just re-sing that part, you just do that harmony, or oh, I can vibe to that, I can write to that. Like, you know, I started to realize that part wasn't normal, so I'm just now embracing it as a gift, because I definitely don't want to lose it. So I do know that God is granting me a gift.
How long have you been doing music?
I've been doing music professionally for 24 years. And the reason why I say for that long, because when I was younger, I actually was part of like a gospel boy group. And we started when we were really young. So normally I wouldn't include stuff like that, but we actually were putting CDs out. And we were traveling around the country, performing at different churches. We were on Showtime at Apollo. So realistically, 24 solid years of doing music, and then I was even singing prior to that. Been through and just having a different understanding of what I'm doing now. I have different goals. Others is, I want to blow up. I want to do music. I actually want to use the platform to do other things, like help other people. So that's definitely part of it. And I kind of got that meaningfulness out of it when I lost my voice. I've had 5 vocal surgeries, and one on the left vocal cord and the right, in my tonsil. And then fast forward 12 years later, had polyps again, had the surgery, but had a seizure. Never had a seizure in my life, had a seizure maybe a week after the surgery, so they had to redo it over. And you would never know. Like, I ain't been hoarse since, and that was like 3 years ago. And so my speaking voice is actually more damaged than my singing voice. And I literally remember praying, like, you know, if God just allowed me to still be able to sing, I didn't even care if I could talk. And be careful what you pray for, because it definitely happened.
What was your experience like being signed to a major label?
I actually didn't have a good experience being signed to labels. My first deal was with So Def, and they were under Arista. So Arista folded. Clyde Davis had decided to fold Arista, and so of course that put So Def just by themselves, like in limbo. So I was a new artist. I just signed. I've been with them for like a month. So I got dropped, like me and all the other new artists, we got dropped. And then shortly after that, maybe a couple of years, I don't remember, I ended up signing with Bad Boy South with Block Entertainment. And that was just, you know, I don't want to be harsh, but it was just a bad experience. And then I think the biggest thing was me being an R&B artist on a street rap label. And just the understanding of how to approach my project wasn't there.
Where were you and your reaction when you heard your song on the radio for the first time?
The very first time was definitely in Nashville, Tennessee. I can't really recall the song. It was either a song called Ride I had with Playboy, or I had a song with Starlito, who went by All Star at the time. It could have been that. I think it was one of those two, to be honest. I know I was excited though, because I thought that I was famous, all because the song was on the radio. And then in Atlanta, it was a song with Gorillaz called Nobody Gotta Know, and that was in like full rotation. I ain't gonna lie, it's hard to get a song on the radio in Atlanta. And like when that started playing, like that's probably the most excited I ever been hearing my song on the radio.
Have you ever felt like giving up on music?
Yup, definitely. Mainly because of the type of individuals that in the industry. And I would say the industry itself is the entertainment industry within itself is the type of industry that plays off of people's emotions and egos. And so you have an individual that may come in innocently because they just want to be a part of something. And then you start getting that clout and you start getting people cheering for you and saying your name and you're doing interviews and like people just change, or it just magnifies like a flaw that was always there. And unfortunately that's the majority of the industry. So when you're working with those people, you constantly let down, betrayed, done wrong. So it does make you want to quit because it's like being in a relationship. You know, you can only take so much. So, but I've been fortunate to stay in it and I'm still sticking with it. Hopefully I can do it, you know, for the rest of my life.
Through your process of music, have you ever dealt with any type of anxiety, depression? If so, how did you cope with that?
Anxiety and depression. Thank God I didn't cope with it the way a lot of other people have through drugs. Mine, I definitely had a wild streak, like where I just went out, just trying to get as many women as possible. Not for the game of it, but just really out of frustration. Like you just looking for something to fill a void or to just mask all of that frustration you're going through. The parties, I partied for a minute, and it was anxiety and depression because you're anxious to like really hurry up and get your product out there and get to where you're trying to go. The depression comes from all the letdowns and all the people doing you wrong and backstabbing, doing sneaky stuff, you know, behind your back, lying to you. Like I discussed earlier, just the betrayal alone. So the combination of the two, man, it's a dangerous industry, and it's the reason why a lot of people are almost like zombies. You know, they just drugged up. They still putting out records, but they not even here because they trying to mask like just all of that hurt and all of that anxiety and depression. So I did it the wrong way. Like now it's just more spiritual, like more just staying in church, like reading my Bible study and staying to myself and just being positive, killing people with kindness and trying to find ways to help people constantly outside of music, and it just kind of overshadows all of that.
With your overall experience in the industry, what advice would you give any independent up-and-coming artist?
My advice would be, my dad made me go to college. And it's funny because I was a straight A student, but my dad was an educator. My dad was a minister and an educator. So he was my minister. He was at the same church for 42 years. And he was a principal. He was my principal at Goodlettsville Middle School. And so I just had like real strict discipline. But one thing he was big on, even though he supported my music, surprisingly, like people didn't think he would support it because I was doing R&B, but all my music was clean. It's always been clean. That's my niche. He was like, man, you need to get your education because the industry, from what he knew, was just unforgiving. Like it's just like harsh and brash. And I didn't want to do it, so I went to TSU. I didn't take scholarships outside of state. My whole thing was just get it over with quick. And I graduated in 3 years and ended up having to get a master's because I had to work after my deal with So Def didn't work out. So I ended up getting a master's degree too. So I ain't saying you gotta go that far with it, but I do advise anyone doing music to still get their education because you're gonna have little pockets where you're not gonna have revenue streams coming in, and if you don't have the tools to survive in the 21st century, you know, job market, like you're gonna be scraping for change and you're gonna end up hustling, you know, and that's how a lot of people get incarcerated during the whole grind. So it's okay to work and that be a part of your grind, because I definitely worked 9 to 5, like while I was pursuing, you know, my career and trying to get even to where I am now.
I know you just released a single, Way Too Much. Can we be on the lookout for any other project?
Oh yeah. So I haven't released music in probably like 6-7 years. Not like really. I think I had a Christmas song or something I put out for free, but I haven't really done the whole artist thing in at least 6 years because I wanted to do it the right way. I wanted an investor. I wanted to stay independent and just do major distribution. And that's still something I'm working on because I've had investors where it just hasn't worked out as far as them holding up their end of the bargain. Because I think a lot of times they commit to a number thinking they can tiptoe around it and spend less, but it's you can't cut corners in the music industry. If it's $150, if it's $250,000, that's how much you gotta spend. And that's why a lot of the dope boys are successful, because they got this liquid cash to spend and they willing to spend it. They can't go put it in the bank, so they go get it done, and then they take off and they just change their life in the process and clean it up. So I'm taking the same approach, just like with honest money and doing it, a certain type of way. So I did release a single called Bounce, like just to test out the market, see what people thought of it, and it went extremely well. I had a video song with, so I was like, okay, I'm putting another. So I put out a song called Shimon. And once again, it's just me getting my feet wet, just being an artist again. So then I was like, okay, I do way too much. So now I got way too much remix featuring Eric Bellinger, and I got a song called No Filter featuring Jacquees. Both of those songs are gonna release like this summer. And then I've got, the album is like, no question, because I got like a gazillion songs. So my album is done, I got other features and stuff like that. So we're just gonna see where it goes. But those two songs for sure, I plan on being my two biggest releases that I've ever done in my career.
Okay, do you have any features on any of your music?
I do. Like I said, I got the Eric Bellinger joint. I guess let me start with the Jacquees. Like, that's crazy because I actually did some writing for him briefly while I was exiting Block Entertainment, Bad Boy South. He was coming in, and he was like 15 at the time. And it's crazy to see him in the studio, almost 10 years later, and he still remembers me. Of course, I remember him, and he's had more success than me as an artist. And so, he just really respected my grind and my music, my talent. It wasn't like I'm the king of R&B and you just now trying to come out. Like, it was like, bro, you fine. Like let's kill it. So it's been all love with him. Same thing with Eric Bellinger. He's one of the biggest songwriters of our time. So for him to admire my songwriting and even record on a song that I wrote without changing anything for that particular song, like, man, that was just like a compliment, like, because I really respect him as a writer. So to have a song with him is like having a song with somebody that I admire just from behind the scenes as a writer. Like, he's one of Chris Brown's main writers. He's written for Beyonce, Rihanna, like everybody. So to have a song with him and him show up for the video and it be just all love, like, he treated me like I was Jay-Z or somebody, not Jay-Z. He really respected the whole process. I got a joint with Future. I can't speak on that one. But and then some up and coming artists too that y'all may not have heard of that I think are real dope in the future. Who is this?
Are there any other talents that you have besides singing?
Oh, okay.
And how is it working with other artists?
Okay. You rolling up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I definitely, a lot of people just knew me as an artist, but I've always been a songwriter first, and that's thanks to Trey Styles. That's who I started with. I started with Trey Styles in Nashville, over 20 years ago, probably right at 20 was when I met him, 20 years ago. Right at that mark was when I met him, and I was like stuck on, I'm an artist, I just, you write it, I'll just sing it. He was like, man, it's the dumbest thing you ever said in your life. I'll never forget him telling me that. So he literally, we started in the basement. We had this company called Versatile. So all of my earlier stuff, my first album, everything was done with him in the basement. And he just kept me in the basement with a pad. He showed me how to count bars. He put a rap track on, a rap beat on, and he was just like, you're gonna have to write a song to it. And I was like, what? Like, so I kind of knew how to do melodies, and he just taught me how to structure a song. But he showed me how to write, and the rest, he even acknowledged was just a gift. Like, he was like, bro, I didn't teach you that. Like, that's a gift. And so I've been writing forever, and I've written for like a lot of artists. Like, I've written on a lot of projects. It's just not something I've really been vocal about. Like, oh, I wrote for Diddy, oh, I wrote for Mary J. Blige, or I wrote for this person, or Usher, or whoever. Like, it's just something I enjoy doing from behind the scenes. I don't really care who finds out, who knows. That's just what I love to do. I write songs at the house instead of watching TV. So that's my primary function today, is a writer and a vocal arranger, and then like I develop artists. So I enjoy working with other artists as long as they don't have like an ego trip. But I'm also not stuck on like, oh, I gotta work with, you know, this person all at the top. I work with Lil Joe up the street. He's talented and hungry, and we have fun making music. That's where I am in life right now.
How do you feel your music can impact the culture where it's at now?
Man, I love that question, because to me, one of the things that's masked in my music, because I do R&B, is typically love songs. It's about relationships. I'm almost 99% of the time singing about a girl, or like I said, a relationship, something related to it. Cause you know, it's R&B. I can't just be singing about popping bottles or whatever. But my niche is clean music, and like I started that because of my dad being a minister. But I continued it because I saw the importance of it and the lack of it being in the end. Like, I'm a grown man, I can sing whatever I want to. I can cuss all through my songs, sing about whatever I want to talk about. So I'm not doing that because of my parents. I'm doing that because I think it's dope. Like, you know, to be a Smokey Robinson, to be a Babyface, you know, to like write these huge songs and these impactful songs to where you don't even realize it's clean when you listen to it, because you just caught in the vibe and the catchiness. And then when you break it down, I've had people say, okay, send me the clean version so I can put it, add it to my station. I'm like, that is the clean version. There's no dirty version. And like, that's just my personal niche. I'm not knocking people who do what they do. I'm just saying that's what I bring to the table, is thinking outside the box and more creatively. How can we say this in a way where you don't have to turn it down when your kid's in the car, but it's still relevant enough to where you can listen to it around adults? That's my whole niche and my whole aim when I approach a record. Entertainment, and it's just like I've learned to collaborate with other people and other companies to expand and make it more than just JC a singer, because people may decide, okay, JC sucks now, we don't like him. But if I got a studio and I got like a promotional company and I got all this other stuff going on, I can still be like a fully functional, successful individual in the music industry, like longevity wise. And that's ultimately like how, like where I want to be.
So if you could like sum up what you've been through to where you're at now, your process, understanding, wisdom, what would you want people to know?
I would say, although like I wanted it to happen, like I wanted success, especially as an artist, like sooner. Even some stuff I wanted as a writer, like now I'm starting to see like why it's happening the way it's happening. I'm starting to see why it's taking this much time, because the same success I wanted even 10 years ago, like if I would have got it then, you know, I would have been, from a financial standpoint, I would have gotten a fraction of what I'm able to get now. But now I know how copyrights work. I know how publishing works. I know I have a real company, not just like a name and a logo, like a real company. I have it set up properly. I've written all of my material and not allowed people to put their hands in it, so I own everything. And so now, like even the little few songs that I put out over the last 6 months, like when I do have the bigger budget to like push properly, I'm gonna go back and, you know, basically get reparations on all of that material that I put out prior. And like those 200,000 streams or those 100,000 stream songs now become 2 million or 3 million. Where does that money go? It goes to me. So it's like what I was asking for then, I'm getting back like tenfold now. And then even more in the future, because I don't even know what God has plans. But I know like it taking the time that it's taking was very strategic. It's more like a chess move. And I'm glad it's happening the way it is now. Yo, what's good, man? It's your boy JC and I am MAÜZE.
Owe me 50 right now if we keep it count. I ain't kicking you out. Nah, you ain't gotta leave, you gotta bounce. Yeah, bounce. Yeah, bounce. Ooh, you ain't gotta leave, you gotta bounce. Yeah, bounce. Yeah, bounce. You ain't gotta leave, you got used to the money, baby. You think you're running things, you really must be crazy. You ain't gotta leave, just bounce, bounce, yeah, bounce, bounce, baby. You ain't gotta leave, you gotta. I showed you the finer things, baby, but you got way too comfortable with change, babe. But I can have any girl that I want, yeah. Paddle shift in the bed like I'm rolling. You ain't gotta leave, you gotta bounce, bounce, baby. Yeah, bounce. You ain't gotta leave, you